My name is John Elfers, and I want to welcome you to this instructional video. In this session, we will review the basic features and logistics of mindfulness practice. This is for people who are new to mindfulness and is intended to give some pointers and instructions so that you can use the other videos in this series more successfully. Now, it would make sense to begin by answering the question, what is mindfulness? And then offering a nice, concise definition. Unfortunately, it is not quite as simple as that. It's easy to confuse mindfulness with the techniques that are used to develop it. When you think of mindfulness, you might imagine someone sitting on a cushion with eyes closed and focusing with a lot of concentration on their navel or something else. Yes, there are a lot of techniques, but these techniques are designed to create a type of awareness that should ultimately become a way in which you approach everything in life, becoming a way of who you are. So let me offer a few guiding thoughts about mindfulness. And when you actually try some of the practices, I'm confident that it will become much more clear to you. Mindfulness is about being aware of the present moment, aware of what is happening right now. It's about paying attention to what is occurring in the present, but in a particular way. It's a way of paying attention without getting deeply involved in the content of thoughts and feelings, being swept into those. Mindfulness is a practice in noticing and observing what is going on. It's noticing that right now I'm feeling relaxed. Right now my foot is sore and I feel like moving it. Right now I'm aware that I'm feeling stressed, or angry, or content. Or I'm noticing that I'm driving a car and hopefully paying attention to driving. Mindfulness invites us to be more mindful of the things we do so automatically throughout the day. Things that we might do mindlessly. So mindfulness is a way to turn that around so that you are doing fewer things in a mindless way. Being mindful is also a practice in observation, noticing thoughts and feelings rather than being caught up in them. Taking more of an observer position to the flow of thoughts and feelings allows us to have a different relationship to those thoughts and feelings. We become less caught up in them. Mindfulness is also a practice in having a non-judgmental attitude. When thoughts and feelings do arise, we notice them without putting labels on them or judging them as good or bad or something else. We simply notice and then allow them to move on without holding on to them. Mindfulness invites us to look more deeply into our own mental and emotional patterns, just as they are. So all of this may sound a little complex, but the wonderful thing is, with a little bit of practice, mindfulness can yield many, many results. So the best way to understand mindfulness is to try out some of the practices and then learn the benefits for yourself. And I encourage you to do that. The four most common mindfulness practices are the body scan, the awareness of breath, open awareness, and loving kindness meditation. There are commonalities between these four, but each one has a slightly different purpose and focus. Mindfulness practices are generally done while sitting quietly and while being still. But there are also forms of mindfulness that take place while walking or doing other activities. But in this series of mindfulness practice videos, we will be focusing on sitting practices. So the first thing I want to discuss is posture. Since these practices involve sitting for a period of time, how you sit makes a big difference in being able to remain comfortable during the practice. The goal is to be able to maintain a nice posture and remain still with as little movement as possible. In fact, one of my mindfulness teachers was fond of saying that posture is meditation. And if you consider that the mind and body are interconnected and not separate, how you carry yourself has an influence on your state of mind. So the posture that you use when doing mindfulness practice can have an influence on attention and state of mind. And so this is why we focus on posture. Along with posture, I wanted to mention that it's best to wear loose clothing when doing mindfulness practice. Any clothing that is tight or restrictive can interfere with blood flow and can be distracting. So you want to be able to breathe freely in your clothes and to feel comfortable. So let's talk about posture and sitting for your mindfulness practice. The most traditional method of sitting is on a meditation pillow, a round pillow like this. These are readily available online. It's recommended that you also be sitting on some kind of mat or blanket to keep you up off of the floor. So sitting on top of the pillow, this should be a nice support for your buttocks and for your spine. And one of the features of a pillow and why it's important is that for long periods it's important to have your hips higher than your knees. So when you cross your legs, your knees should be lower than your hips. And it's ideal to have your pelvis tilted forward just slightly. And this allows the spine to come in alignment and be really straight. So if you imagine that you're a puppet and there's a string moving through your spine coming out the top of your head, if you were to grab that and pull up straight on that thread, the entire spine would come into alignment, and that's the idea that you want to have. So with the spine straight and shoulders back perpendicular to the spine. So if you take a deep breath and raise your shoulders near your ears and let them roll back slightly, and then just let them relax so that they hang nice and straight and perpendicular to the spine. The other thing to be aware of is the head, having it rest directly over the spine, the skull directly over the spine. And this means that the chin feels like it's tucked in just a little bit. So having the chin tucked in. And then the arms can be relaxed at your side. You can have your hands resting on your thighs with the palms face up or down. Some people choose to do it this way. Or you can choose to have your hands cradled and relaxed in your lap like this. And so this should allow you to be able to sit comfortably for periods of time. One caution I want to make is to make sure that you're not overly strained or rigid. This is not a posture that should take a lot of muscles to hold you up. It should be very comfortable. And the key is getting the proper alignment. And if you do that, it should be very comfortable and allow you to sit for periods of time. So again, hips above the knees, pelvis tilted forward just slightly, the spine in alignment, chin tucked in a little bit, shoulders nice back, and then relaxed. Arms at your side loose, with hands on your thighs resting easily, palms up, palms down, or cradled. Now another option, other than the pillow, is to use what's called a meditation bench. And these are also readily available. The nice thing about the bench is that it keeps your buttocks up a little higher. So if you sit back on the bench, you can see the way it's designed. The bench raises your buttocks up just a little bit higher and allows your shin and feet to be underneath you. This takes a lot of pressure off of the knees. One of the advantages of the meditation bench is that it's much easier on the knees. So most of the weight is resting on the bench, being supported by the knees and the shins underneath. It's a very comfortable position. The other thing about the meditation bench is that the seat is tilted forward slightly. This moves the pelvis forward just a little bit, allowing the spine to come into perfect alignment. So again, if you sort of raise that string through your spine, get each vertebra lined up right on top of the other, shoulders back, arms resting comfortably at your side, chin tilted in slightly, hands resting on your thighs, palms down, palms up, or cradled. And so done well, this position should allow you to sit comfortably for long periods of time without having to move. So one more variation on this that I'd like to share with you is, if you do not have a meditation bench, another alternative is to take your pillow and, rather than sitting on it flat this way, if you turn it on its side and put this between your legs and sit, it essentially does the same thing as the meditation bench. It keeps your buttocks up. You do have to concentrate a little on making sure your pelvis is nice and tilted forward just a little bit. Your shins, knees are on either side, but this takes a lot of pressure off the knees. It's a very comfortable position. Again, spine straight, chin tucked in, shoulders back, arms resting at your side, hands on the thighs or cradled. For some people, sitting on a meditation cushion or a bench is not an option. So another option that you have is to sit on a chair. If you do, you want to use a straight back chair with a nice, firm, flat seat. If there's no cushion on the seat, then you can certainly add a cushion or a pillow to make it more comfortable. You don't want it to be too soft or too hard. It's sort of like Goldilocks. You want it to be just right. Firm, but not uncomfortable. In this posture, your spine does not lean against the back of the chair. The spine should be straight without leaning back or without slouching back into the back of the chair. So the spine should continue to be erect, one vertebra on top of the other. Imagine that thread running through, you're pulling it up, raising up the spine, chin tucked in, skull directly over the spine, resting comfortably. In this posture, the shoulders, of course, again, would be back, rolling them back and letting them fall and relax with your arms at your side, hands resting on your thighs. Now, the placement of the legs in this position is very important. Your thighs should be straight out with your knees the same distance apart as your hips, so that your thighs are perfectly straight, knees hip distance apart. Your ankles should be directly under the knees so that your shin and your thigh bone form a 90-degree angle, and your feet should be not crossed, they should be flat on the floor. And then this position will allow you to remain erect for periods of time with your hands resting comfortably on your thighs, palms face down or face up, or cradled in your lap. For some people, doing mindfulness sitting down is not a possibility. You may have back pain or other conditions that prevent you from sitting. Doing mindfulness practice lying down, then, is an excellent option. One of the cautions about doing mindfulness lying down is that there's an increased tendency to fall asleep. If falling asleep becomes an issue, you can deal with this by keeping your eyes open during the practice. When lying down, it is a good idea to be on a firm surface and avoid a soft mattress if possible. If you are on the floor, make sure you have a cushy blanket or a mat to soften it a bit and to keep you from getting cold. Use a blanket to cover yourself if you wish. When lying down, you may choose to put a pillow or bolster under your knees to take some of the pressure off of the lower back, and a pillow under your neck to support the head and neck. I want to say a few words about the placement of the eyes during mindfulness practice. Some people prefer to do their mindfulness practice with eyes closed. Over time, or in long periods of meditation, you might find increased difficulty in maintaining alertness with the eyes closed. In this case, it is recommended to do mindfulness practice with the eyes open, or at least partially open. One way to do this is to simply open the eyelids a bit and just let a little bit of light in. This can enhance alertness and minimize distractions. If your eyes are open a little more completely, they should be slightly downcast. If your chin is tucked in, with nice posture, your eyes will naturally sort of gaze downwards. So you can find a spot about 30 inches in front of your legs and use that as a location for focusing. When the eyes are open, they should be in a soft gaze, meaning that the eyes do not focus intently or clearly on a spot. Let the eyes defocus as though slightly cross-eyed, or you have that sort of dreamy, far-away look in your eyes with defocused. It's actually very relaxing for the eyes. A soft gaze allows light to come in and yet helps maintain alertness, but without the eyes getting tired. Since many mindfulness practices use the breath as an anchor or a focus of attention, I will share a few thoughts on this. If you take a few deep breaths right now, you'll notice that one of the things about posture in mindfulness is that it really enhances nice, deep breaths. The breath is one of the quickest ways to change the state of awareness, to relax, to energize, to reflect, go inward. There are many breathing techniques that can be used for energizing and relaxation. Some of the techniques slow down the breath, some accelerate the breath, some help to decrease the amount of carbon dioxide and increase oxygen levels, others do the opposite. There will be a separate video in this series that goes through a series of breathing techniques for relaxation, stress reduction, and emotional regulation. One final instruction relates to the use of the bell in traditional mindfulness practice. The ringing of a bell is used to announce the beginning of meditation and to signal the end of a practice. In these videos, we will use the ringing of the bell because it offers a nonverbal cue for opening and closing the practice. That is what you will hear. So the bell is also meant to interrupt whatever thoughts might be going on in your mind at the time and serves as an invitation to wake up and become mindful. I want to end with a few words about establishing a regular mindfulness practice. To really get the benefit from mindfulness, it's important to commit to a regular practice. I encourage you to make a commitment to do some sort of sitting practice at a minimum of several times a week. Doing so will greatly enhance the efficacy of your effort, and you'll begin to see the benefits almost immediately. Overall, it is better to do a regular practice and more frequent practice over a period of a week than one very long one So think in terms of consistency and frequency rather than one long sort of marathon session. Finally, this series of videos features several mindfulness practices. There's one on the body scan, a focus on the breath, open awareness, and loving kindness. There will be an additional video on breathing practices for relaxation and energizing. Each one will be about 30 minutes long. You can certainly extend or shorten the time as you wish. The videos are designed to be useful for you, so if you choose, you can just listen to the audio portion, only listen to a portion, whatever you want to do to make it useful for you. Feel free to do that. If you are new to mindfulness practice, it's recommended that you begin with the body scan. Attending to body sensations is a central and critical part of mindfulness practice. Since our thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, even our intuitions and creative impulses all have a physiological component, being attuned to those sensations is an important part of all mindfulness practice. Having increased sensitivity to bodily sensations enhances our relationship to the body and to our entire range of human experience. So in closing, I'd like to invite you to watch this video again if you wish to review the basics. Otherwise, we look forward to sharing with you through the other videos. Thank you.